Sister Marilyn?
You know what I remember most? It was Aunt Gladys Dow, like Sister Pat said too, that brought us in the message, took us down to the tabernacle. But one day she tried to get us to listen to the tapes, but we just didn't seem like interested. She'd have us over for dinner, and then she'd play a little bit of a tape for us, but it just didn't seem to mean too much for us. But the one time she went down to hear Brother Branham preach, and she got in the prayer line, and as she went through the prayer line, Brother Branham said, "Sister Dow, what do you have need of?" And she said, "For the salvation of my family." And he says, "Today, God will work with your family."
Praise
and
the
she
Lord.
lifted up her hand and she said, "Marilyn, Lord."
Oh,
And,
praise the Lord.
So then when they got home that day, they came right over to our house. She and Uncle Bill Dow. And I'd never been real interested in things about the tabernacle or anything about Brother Branham. But that day I started to ask her all kinds of questions. And I became interested, and she brought the tape recorder over to our house, and I started to listen to tapes, and that's how we came to the message. And we went to the tabernacle. We were baptized down there, Tom and I, in Easter of 1961. And the thing I always noticed about Brother Branham when he would come to the pulpit, very humbly, he was so humble man. And we all loved him. We didn't worship him, but we loved him very much. And we received him as a prophet and knew that what he was saying was true, and went right along with the word. I never had any minister draw me closer to the Bible than he did. He made the Bible live for us. And when he'd come to the pulpit, he'd talk a while, but then you'd see him straighten up just like a soldier, and then he'd begin to preach, and the angel of the Lord was right there with him. One time we would always go over to the Blue Boar and eat our lunch. And one time it was our anniversary. I'll tell Vic before he does. And so we were separated because the women ended up on one table and the men on another. And I thought, well, this is our anniversary and we should be sitting together. And I got kind of miffed, kind of upset about it. Well, after we'd eaten and everything, then Brother Branham and his family came by. And he said to me, he said, "Well, Sister Brown," he didn't know I was acting that way. Nobody did. I did like that. And he said, "Well, Sister Brown, when it's our anniversary, I'm always out hunting." And I remember when Sister Pat talked about that baby that was blind, because you told me, I didn't see it, but you told me you saw his eyes, the baby's eyes actually, and he could see.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. All right. Thank you so much. Brother Tom, I was going to ask you in particular something you were telling me about the cornerstone the other day. Would you rehearse that?
Yeah. I was hoping to get a chance to say something about it, because I was talking to Tom Frank, and he revealed to me that the enemy is trying to discredit Brother Branham as being a true prophet.
Mm-hmm.
He's using the cornerstone as a significant error in his message, claiming that cornerstone was busted into and there's nothing in it. Absolutely, they're correct. And I'll tell you why. Because the day after the funeral, Marilyn and I stayed that night in a motel. And before we started home, we thought we would go to the tabernacle and also go down to the cemetery, which was only 2 blocks away. Incidentally, they didn't use a funeral car to take the body to the cemetery. They carried the casket down the street and took it to the cemetery and committed it. Well, we wanted to pay our last respects. So as we was going by the tabernacle, we saw a group of the brothers with a jackhammer busting into the original cornerstone that Brother Branham had put in there.
Yes.
And you busted into the cornerstone, and we saw it. At the time that it busted into the cornerstone, there was a form of a cylinder that had been shaped around the concrete, that nothing in the world would permit that to happen unless there had been a cylinder in that.
Wow.
It's for your sisters. Maybe you might be able to understand it a little better. if you took pudding or jello, and set it up, and put it in the refrigerator, and open it up, would you have a cavity in the center of it? No, you wouldn't. It'd be a solid mess. The same way with concrete. Concrete always fills up the complete area. But this cornerstone had a cylinder of some sort, perhaps the size of a Coca-Cola can or something. Marilyn and I both saw it at the same time.
Praise the Lord.
So there was actually, Brother Branham had said he put something in the cornerstone, and
Yes.
he did,
Yes.
but God did not want it revealed. So God mysteriously took it out, and it's the biggest miracle I've ever witnessed in my life.
Praise the
I saw
Lord.
Brother Wade raised from the dead. I see all kind of healings. But how in the world would anything take that out of that concrete except Almighty God?
Amen. Amen.
So that to me, that is fantastic.
Praise the Lord.
So then they
Eyewitness.
replaced the cornerstone, of course, because there was a cavity in there. The one they opened up that they're criticizing now Brother Branham on was naturally nothing in it,
I see.
because they put the cornerstone in. The one we saw open was the one Brother Branham put in there, and there was a definite cavity, and Brother and I both saw it.
Tremendous. Praise the Lord. Thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to
Yeah, I
share?
forgot quite a few things. But I think that's the most important one you wanted to get across.
Thank you, Brother Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sister Marilyn.
But when Uncle Bill had his heart attack, his first heart attack, Sister Dow called Brother Branham, asked if he would pray for Brother Bill. He said, I'll come up and see him. So he drove all the way from Jeffersonville to Lima, Ohio. Some of us in here was at the hospital. And he was going to take Uncle Bill back upstairs for some further test, a stress test or something. I forget what it was. Of course, Aunt Gladys was a nurse, and she knew that Uncle Bill was critical. So she felt she couldn't leave the hospital while he was there. But she wanted Brother Branham to see where they lived. So she asked me to take him to their house. I took him to the house, and he was very alert to everything. He noticed that there's 3 entrances to the outside, and he noticed that there's 7 steps going up to the porch, and he noticed there was 5 steps from the porch into the house. He's very alert to all these type of things. Well, while we were gone, or just before we left, before Brother Branham had left, everybody was standing out there in the hall. And Sister Dow could ask Brother Branham questions that the rest of us were always afraid to ask him. She says, Brother Branham, she says, how will we know the rapture's on? He says, take me for example. I don't know if any of you remember when he said this or not. But he says, take me for example. Now, F.F. Bosworth and he were very close friends. F.F. Bosworth had been gone 4 or 5 years prior to this, so he was a dead man. He says, take me for example. He says, I'll see Brother Bosworth again, and I'll have fellowship with him for 30 or 40 days. Remember that? And then Gladys spoke up again. She says, and the body change will be painful. And he said, yes, it'll be just for an instant. This mortal's got to put on immortality.
Praise the Lord.
And that's not on tape, but that was spoken in Memorial Hospital here in Lima, Ohio.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
That's it. That's all I had to say. Unless you want to hear something kind of funny.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. You know, everybody mentions how that Brother Branham had eagle eyes.
Mm-hmm.
He looked right through you. Well, we were down there one time, it was communion. And I don't know if you've heard on tape this Brother Way. No, it wasn't Brother Way, it was Brother Mills. When the Spirit of the Lord would hit him, he'd say, hey! For no reason at all. I mean, he would just, hey! Yeah. Well, here was communion, and I was up there. I was just ready to reach for that little cup. I didn't realize Brother Mills was right beside me. And just as I was reaching, he, hey! I often wonder what Brother Branham thought. Nothing was ever said, but it was sure funny. And looking back on it, it was really funny.
Brother-
I guess that was it.
Brother Tom, you had mentioned something about being in the elevator.
Yeah.
Would you rehearse
Yeah,
that?
he was going up in the elevator, and this is when Brother Branham had his, I think it was in Dallas, Texas, when all the brothers were down there. And he started hemorrhaging real bad. We rushed him to the hospital. And I knew Brother Branham would want to know about Uncle Bill. It was the last night of the service. I knew what motel Brother Branham was staying in, so I went and woke him up at about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Knocked on the door, and he come to the door. And I told him that we had to rush Uncle Bill to the hospital because he was hemorrhaging. He said, well, what hospital is it in? And I told him, he says, oh, well, you go back. He says, I'll be there in a little bit. So I went back to the hospital, I waited on him. And Brother Branham come in, and I rode up the elevator with him. He's standing behind me, and I could feel him discerning in my spirit. It was the strangest spirit feeling I ever felt. I knew he was discerning my spirit. He said I had a good, honest, loyal heart. And he said he saw me like a minister. It scared me to death because I would never want that responsibility, of being a pastor. That scared me to death. I said, you mean I'll be a preacher? He says, no. I'm thankful for that. So I don't know what it meant. He just left us standing. So I don't know if it was about the foundation or giving testimony, what it is. That was it.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Well, Sister Becky, Brother Branham's daughter Becky, had been up visiting Brother and Sister Dow. So when we went down to hear Brother Branham preach, I don't know where it was, in Shreveport, was it Shreveport? I think it was in Shreveport. Sister Becky drove their car, and I drove our car. And we went down there, and when we got to the motel where Brother Branham he was staying, I carried Becky's suitcases up to Brother Branham's motel room. And he always had 2 rooms. He'd have a room for he and Sister Meady, and the other room for the children. So I took the bags in, and to this day I don't know how he and I ended up in the one room by ourselves. And he started telling me about different people having dreams of his end. He said, perhaps shot. And he pointed to a hole here and here. And when he died, that's what he had. They'd been feeding him through the throat, and they'd operated on the side of his head to relieve the pressure from the brain that was swelling from the accident. And that's how he died. He had those 2 holes that he told me about.
Incredible. Thank you.